Have you ever stared down a truly monstrous technical challenge? Maybe it's that creaky ancient legacy system nobody dares touch, or a massive technical overhaul that feels like trying to move a mountain with a scoon. It's that feeling of being completely overwhelmed before you even begin, right? Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into the strategic mind of a leader. We want to uncover how technical leaders can effectively tackle these, well, seemingly impossible challenges and actually achieve meaningful progress without getting completely bogged down. We're not just talking theory here. We're drawing some pretty surprising insights from leadership strategy, particularly the Art of Technical Leadership series, and one episode called Pick the Right Battles, Weak versus Strong Points. Now, this series brilliantly reframes wisdom from, get this, Sun Tzu's Art of War for the modern software world. So get ready for some eye-opening facts and a really practical approach to winning these tech battles.
Yeah, and it's fascinating, isn't it, how this timeless military strategy, it gives us such clear guidance for modern software challenges. It's not just about what to do, but really how to approach the seemingly impossible, transforming these massive undertakings into manageable, winnable campaigns. It gives us a framework for strategic thinking that I think many of us in tech really crave.
It's incredible how relevant these ancient texts can be.
Yeah.
Seriously. So let's kick things off by understanding Sun Tzu's core principle. How does the art of war actually guide us in, well, fighting our code battles?
Well, Sun Tzu's core idea is profound in its simplicity, he says. Attack where the enemy is weak, and crucially, avoid their strong fortresses. He explicitly advised against those big frontal assaults on well-defended opponents. For Sun Tzu, victory wasn't about brute force at all. It came from choosing the time and place of conflict wisely, finding a side route, maybe, or a softer target to outmaneuver the opponent. Rather than just throwing your troops into a battle you probably can't win.
That makes a lot of sense intuitively. But okay, in our software world, what does a weak point actually look like? And what's a strong point we should probably steer clear of? Because I can immediately picture a few digital strongholds from my own experience.
Right. So when we reframe this for tech leaders, an enemy stronghold, that's often that massive legacy code base, you know the one, that monolithic application that's critical to your business, but absolutely terrifying to change. Or maybe it's a database so old and tangled that just thinking about altering it gives your team cold sweats. It's that big, hairy, audacious technical challenge that looms over everyone.
Okay, got it. The big, scary monster.
Exactly. Conversely, a weak point is a part of a system or project where you have a clear advantage, where quick progress seems possible. Or maybe where a small, focused effort yields a big, noticeable win for users or the team.
Right. So it's not about being afraid to tackle the big problems, but about being smart about how and when you tackle them. Yeah. Weighing that effort versus reward. And I imagine that's where many leaders fall into the biggest trap, isn't it? That temptation where you just want to scrap everything and start fresh.
You've hit on it exactly, that urge. Our sources call it the enemy of the week, the all-or-nothing rewrite. It truly is almost a programmer's reflex, The engineer's perspective is often, this is such a mess. It would be so much easier to just scrap this whole thing and build something new and clean. Joel Spolsky famously captured this. He said, programmers are like architects who arrive at an old building and immediately want to bulldoze it. It feels exciting, right? A fresh start. But this big bang rewrite is incredibly risky.
Oh, we've all felt that pull, haven't we? That desire to just burn it down and start over. But I wonder, isn't there any scenario where a full rewrite is actually the strategically better choice? Or is Netscape truly the universal cautionary tale we should always remember?
That's a great question. And yes, while the Netscape story is really potent, there are extremely rare cases where a full rewrite might be defensible. Maybe a niche internal tool with very few users, or a system so completely non-functional it poses an existential threat to the business. But even then, the all-or-nothing approach is rarely the smooth path to success. Netscape in the 90s is the classic, painful example, yeah? They famously decided to rewrite their flagship web browser from scratch. Spolsky called it the single worst strategic mistake a software company can make. Brutal. They spent years on this rewrite, effectively canceling version 5.0. Meanwhile, competitors like Internet Explorer just zoomed ahead. By the time their new code, Netscape 6, was finally ready, well, it was too late. They had lost the browser war.
That's such a harsh lesson, and I've always thought the tech world has a bit of a short memory when it comes to these rewrite sagas. We seem to keep reinventing that particular wheel, often with, similarly painful results.
It's true. It's almost this inherent programmer's optimism, maybe, that needs to be strategically managed. And this perfectly illustrates Sun Tzu's point. If your team tries to defend, or in this case, attack every problem at once, you dilute your focus and energy. You just spread yourself too thin. You risk getting bogged down, morale sinks as months pass with little to show for all that massive effort. This can also show up as scope creep, right? Where even modest improvement projects quietly balloon into full rewrites because, well, as long as we're in there, might as well redo everything.
Hmm.
So the enemy isn't really the legacy system itself. It's the impulse to tackle it the wrong way, that frontal assault on the biggest, most entrenched part of the codebase.
Okay, so if the grand overhaul, the big rewrite, is often a dead end, what's the maybe counterintuitive path to success here?
Yeah.
How do we outsmart this impulse to just bulldoze everything?
Well, the surprising truth is often the fastest way to the finish line isn't that direct sprint. It's more like a series of calculated detours. We outsmart the enemy by picking our battles carefully. That means identifying that low-hanging fruit where we can get quick wins. Instead of trying to grab the highest branch first, right, it involves being maybe sneaky in a positive sense, like tackling a smaller, less risky, or more self-contained component. One that the overall complexity isn't defending quite as strongly. For example, a module of the legacy app that isn't tightly coupled to everything else. Or maybe an area that causes frequent pain, lots of bugs, user complaints, but is relatively isolated. Fixing that would yield really outsized benefits for the effort.
It does, doesn't it? And the beauty of these smaller skirmishes, they create something invaluable. Momentum. Not just in the code, but like within the team itself. Instead of one huge months-long battle where success feels really uncertain, you're setting up a series of smaller, winnable skirmishes, little victories.
Exactly. And each of those wins, it's going to build your team's confidence, build momentum. In military terms, yeah, it's like winning a few small skirmishes. Boosts morale, weakens the enemy a bit before the big confrontation. In business terms, it's demonstrating value early so that your team, your bosses, your stakeholders, they can see progress and actually start believing in the strategy. This is really about creating a virtuous cycle. Success isn't just about the outcome, it's the psychological boost, the credibility it earns. And that then powers the next effort. Nothing breeds support like success.
That makes perfect sense. Tangible results, quickly, build that stakeholder confidence, lays a foundation for larger changes down the road. It tackles resistance and gives teams belief in the wider strategy. Okay, so what does this all mean for you, the listener, facing your own tech fortress? Let's bring this to life with a really realistic example. We have a fantastic case study from our sources, Swift Mail Corp.
Right, Swift Mail Corp. It's a fictionalized case study, but it mirrors situations many of us have definitely encountered. So imagine a mid-sized enterprise with a web-based communication platform, SwiftMail, their core product. A decade-old, monolithic JavaScript Node.js app heavy on jQuery. It's become, that giant ball of mud code base. Deployments are risky, frequent outages, slowing new feature development to a crawl. They're losing ground to competitors.
Oof. I'm sure that sounds painfully familiar to a lot of listeners.
Yeah.
So the CTO, Alice, and her team of 20 developers, a mix of veterans and new hires, they decide it's time to modernize.
And the initial reaction from the senior devs, it's the classic all-or-nothing rewrite, of course. Proposals range from redoing the database schema, rebuilding the front end as a modern single-page app, maybe a full cloud-native microservices overhaul, everything. They optimistically estimate maybe 1 to 1.5 years for feature parity, which, as we know, often means longer. This means 2 code bases to maintain, a split focus for the team, significant market risk. Alice, however, has read the war stories. She knows the risks of these big rewrites.
So Alice channels her inner Sun Tzu, right? She avoids the frontal assault. And she asks that crucial question. What if we find a part of this system we can tackle quickly? Something that will make a difference for us or our customers in, say, a few months, not a year. That's a huge shift in perspective.
It really is. So through brainstorming, they identify their weak point, the upload service. It's a separate modular component, but it's poorly implemented, prone to failures, slow, a constant source of customer complaints, a real pain point, but crucially, it's relatively isolated. It communicates with the main app via an API, so they realize they can re-engineer it without touching the core web app much, as long as that API contract stays stable. It's a known pain point, so fixing it would be noticeable. And its isolation makes it a weaker point to attack, not the main fortress core.
That's brilliant. Okay, they found their first winnable battle, so what was the plan? How'd they execute?
Battle number 1 was set. Re-engineer the upload service in 3 months. Just 3 months. A small sub-team, maybe 3 or 4 people, including a remote engineer with cloud experience and a couple of in-office devs, was carved out. They treated it like a pilot project for modernization. experimenting with new approaches like cloud storage APIs, streaming uploads. They even set up a brand new CI/CD pipeline just for this service, kind of testing the waters for modern DevOps. Meanwhile, the rest of the team just maintained the main system. No one felt overwhelmed.
And the quick win. Did it pay off? Tell us about the results. That's the exciting part.
Oh, it absolutely did. In about 3 months, maybe a little more, the new upload service was live in production. From the user's perspective, uploads that often timed out or took minutes now just succeeded reliably in seconds. Big difference. Average upload time plummeted from 2 minutes down to just 20 seconds. And the success rate soared from maybe 85% up to 99%. And guess what? Support tickets for failed uploads dropped to almost zero.
Wow. That is tangible progress.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine the morale boost for the team. That must have felt great.
It was huge, seriously. The team celebrated this internal victory. They rang their deployment bell. It wasn't some big public launch, but internally it felt monumental. It was proof that the legacy beast could be tamed. Morale just jumped. Alice then presented these dramatic results to the executive team. Look, 1 quarter, 3 to 4 engineers, dramatic improvement, happier customers, and our engineers learned a ton. The CEO, who was initially skeptical, was now enthusiastic, asking, okay, when can you do the same for other parts? That executive buy-in secured through real demonstrable wins.
The Swift Mail story just perfectly illustrates this, doesn't it? How a series of small tactical victories can transform a seemingly insurmountable challenge into a manageable path. You're not just fixing code, you're building a new future, piece by piece, incrementally.
You've absolutely got it. And with that first victory, confidence just spilled over. Developers started volunteering ideas for the next modernization project. They identified another weak point, maybe it was a reporting module, something similar, and they tackled it, using the lessons learned from the upload service. Over a year, SwiftMail repeated this pattern, piece by piece, replacing or refactoring parts of the old system, carefully avoiding that core messaging engine, the ultimate enemy stronghold, until they were ready. By the end of the year, maybe half the monolith's functionality was running on new services or refactored code. Customers saw continuous improvements. The team was fluent in modern practices. Trust in leadership was high. And crucially, they avoided burnout. They had regular triumphs instead of a multi-year death march. And this story also highlights the flexibility and resilience of this approach, right? Even if one mini project hit unexpected bumps, it wouldn't derail the whole war effort.
That's incredible. Such a powerful example. So let's get really practical here. For you, our listener, what are the key strategies for picking the right battles in your own context? What does this mean for your leadership toolkit? How do you actually do this?
Okay, our sources give us about 6 clear steps, a kind of toolkit. First, identify low-hanging fruit for quick wins. Start with projects that are small in scope but high in immediate impact. Think frequently failing components, simple user complaints. Deliver these wins quickly. Build momentum. Build stakeholder confidence. That's step 1.
Right. Step 2, assess your strengths and the enemies. Play to your team's existing skills. If your front-end team is really strong, maybe tackle a front-end module first. Avoid areas where you know you have a skill disadvantage, at least at the start.
Third, and this is crucial, avoid frontal assaults on core systems, at least initially. Be really cautious about those full rewrites of critical components right out of the gate. Use a phased approach. Modernize peripheral services before the core ones, like Sun Tzu said. Maneuver the enemy out rather than bashing walls for years, right?
Makes sense. Then fourth, demonstrate value early and often. Measure and share results. Performance metrics, reduced bugs, customer feedback, whatever shows progress. Transparent communication solidifies support, motivates your team, and convinces the higher-ups the strategy is working.
Fifth, preserve morale and capacity. This is key. Don't try to fight on all fronts. It's okay to let some less critical issues lie for a while. Focus your forces where they matter most. Avoid overwhelming your team. Accept some imperfections in the short term to achieve those bigger victories later.
And finally, number 6. Celebrate and build on each victory. And this isn't just fluffy stuff, it's essential, like you said. Simple shout-outs, team lunches, virtual cheers, whatever fits your culture. Reinforce the positive behavior to cement confidence and camaraderie. A team that wins together, they'll face the next battle with much higher spirits. These aren't just theoretical ideas, these are battle-tested strategies you can apply starting today.
Exactly. They help you hit that Goldilocks zone, not too big, not too small, just right. So you avoid both paralysis because the problem seems too huge, and that reckless overreach from biting off more than you can chew too soon.
It's really incredible how these principles, they extend far beyond just lines of code, isn't it? It feels like it's about leading people, understanding psychology, knowing when to act.
Indeed. I mean, Think of your team itself as a system. It has strong points and weak points too, right? If morale is low, people are burned out, taking on an extremely demanding project. That could be like a frontal assault on a weak, tired army. Not smart. Instead, a wise leader might focus on a team building win first, maybe dedicated training time or a fun innovation sprint just to re energize them. The same applies to process improvements or organizational change. Don't attempt a big rewrite of your processes overnight. Try pilot changes with one squad, prove it works, and roll it out gradually. Pick the right battle there, too.
So it's about choosing your battles in every aspect of leadership, even the political ones, right? Where sometimes letting a smaller issue slide to focus energy on a bigger priority is actually the strategic call.
Exactly right. And the importance of sequencing and timing, it just cannot be overstated. Doing the right things in the right order. Maybe aligning a quick win with a key business deadline. Or holding off on a risky migration until conditions are more favorable, like after a major release. Patience is a critical part of strategy here. Ultimately, those early victories create agency and confidence, that feeling of, hey, we can do this, that psychological safety, it's invaluable. A confident team will tackle tough problems with much more vigor. So picking the right battles also means taking care of your team's psyche. Avoiding an unwinnable fight isn't cowardice, it's wisdom. It's making sure your troops don't face needless defeat and burnout.
Okay, so if we were to distill all this amazing wisdom from Alice's journey at Swiftmail, from Sun Tzu's ancient strategies, into just a few, like, unbreakable rules for technical leaders, what would be your top 3 code commandments?
Ooh, code commandments. I like that. Okay, my top 3 would be, first, thou shalt not launch frontal assaults on legacy fortresses. Just don't start with the most daunting, complex, scary part of your system. Avoid the all-or-nothing rewrite temptation. Save the hardest battles for when you've actually got momentum on your side. Second, choose battles you can win and win soon. Prioritize achievable, impactful projects that deliver quick wins. Those early victories build the confidence and support you absolutely need for the long-term success of any major initiative. And third, attack weak points. Fortify your strong points. Leverage your team's strengths. Address areas where that effort to reward ratio is really favorable. Don't squander precious time and energy on things that aren't actually broken just for the sake of theoretical purity. Be strategic for a maximum impact.
Those are fantastic. This deep dive has truly shown the power of ticking the right battles, hasn't it? It transforms what feels like an overwhelming mountain of problems into a clear path of step-by-step victories. You become the general who outsmarts the problem rather than just brute forcing it. And in doing so, you protect your team and ensure real, sustainable progress. So as you reflect on your own challenges, maybe consider this. What fortress have you been charging at head-on, when perhaps a side route or a softer target could unlock faster, more sustainable progress? Sometimes the most powerful strategy is simply knowing when to say not yet to the biggest challenge and yes to the winnable one right in front of you. We really encourage you to reflect on your own projects and teams, maybe even share your experiences if you get the chance. Next time on the Deep Dive, we'll continue our Sun Tzu-inspired journey into technical leadership. We'll be looking at tactical positioning, building safety nets, and avoiding disaster. Our theme is going to be, first, do no harm. You won't want to miss it. Until then, lead well and win those small battles. They truly, truly add up.